Welcome to my guide for Pathfinder Poisonburst Arrow. I have successfully used this build to level as rank 1 solo self-found Pathfinder and something like rank 1 or 2 Ranger on and off. I have killed endgame bosses and clear maps at great speed, as you can see. I was planning to use Poisonous Concoction. I keep trying it on and off, and I still think it might have a use. But I also think that with a great bow, like I have found now, the buffed Poisonburst will simply outscale it. It's also a lot less clunky than the concoction, and doesn't require you to throw away your flask charges. So, concoction might still work as a complementary skill while leveling, since it scales really well without any gear. And it could work in super endgame when you have amazing gear. It still works with scatter shot to shotgun and all that, so it has some chance to work, but overall Poisonburst feels like the best option. With that said, let's go into skills and some experimentation I've done. Have all of this linked in the Path of Building planner below. I have put many of the optional gems unchecked in POB. I have written some explanations for the extras. So, Despair use on bosses or very hard rares. Arcane Tempo, Heightened Cursed, and here's a new gem, Focused Cursed, simply makes it trigger a bit quicker. Fine Arrow, put it on bosses or hard packs, or for CC, multi-purpose. Swift Affliction for damage, Persistence to make it last longer, completely optional, you can add Font of Rage or mana, whatever you need. Just cast it a bit more often, it's no problem at all. Cumbrance for more CC. And here's a new gem, Hit and Run. This makes it so you can only use it if you have moved 10 meters. But this is not a skill you want to cast often, so having 40% skill speed is really nice. And just don't spam it, which you shouldn't do anyway. Wind Dancer, one of the best defensive skills in the game. Evasion and knocks enemies back when you get hit. And you can support Maim, Blind, then Venom, which will make it Maim, Blind, and actually kill some of the enemies that hit you. Can be very valuable when you are locked in. Shield Charge, Ingenuity for cooldown, Second Wind, extra charge. Toxic Growth. This is very good for burst damage on bosses. That's pretty much the only time you should use it. Because it's unsafe, locks you in animation, etc, etc. But for burst damage on bosses, it's still great. I've been trying different things. And here's something I would like input, if anyone has found anyway. Withering Touch is so nerfed now that if you use it on a high damage skill, even your main skill, can make it proc sometimes. But even if I put it on Toxic Growth, which should do many decent chaos hits, and note that I also have Ming's Heart, so I do even more chaos damage, and it just procs once sometimes. So it seems completely not worth it. I have these as optional gems in planner, but yeah, maybe with really, really, really good gear, it would proc consistently, but so far it just doesn't. But Martial Tempo, this feels very bad to use without Martial Tempo, but you can swap this to Poisonburst Arrow if you don't use it, because you don't have to use this skill. If you are a bit of a minimalist, you can just spam, you can ride the MOA, you can just spam, as you saw in the intro, Poisonburst Arrow and everything will die. All the footage in the intro was done with a corrupted 5 link. I now have a 6 link, but in trade, or if you just farm more gear than me, you should be able to do so much more and just have the poison clear everything. But yeah, looking for Withering Touch ideas. I'll get into later optional stuff I've tried it on. No longer works on Eye of Winter at all. No stacks. Just doesn't do any damage. The ROA mount, seems to be a very solid option once you can get it up in decent level so it doesn't die. And I've used Meat Shield, Minion Mastery, Last Gasp. You have some time when it dies too. So Poisonburst arrow, the main damage, and as you see with the MOA riding, you literally can do any content in the game by just riding around and spamming Poisonburst. Don't want any complicated stuff, just spam Poisonburst. Be done. For Morbidity, Deadly Poison, the poison combo, pinpoint critical, very strong new gem, doesn't work in Path of Building, so note that the DPS is much higher than it shows. Long shot, optional, can pick something else here if you want. Maybe close combat if you find yourself always close to the enemies. But overall, this is the highest damage. Heft, simply because it's one of the few generic gems that fits in the 6th. But this should be the correct order of taking things. Dark Effigy is another option I've tried for Wither. Sometimes procs a Wither stack now that I have it at level 19. But it's borderline. One stack now and then, is it even worth casting? And it's again one of those things. If you figure a way to make this do just a bit more damage, maybe it will consistently stack. So I also have, of course, Plague Bearer. I am testing the ROA now, and I have Solo Self-Found Gear, so I can't have all of the good stuff. It does not work on the ROA mount, so when you use the ROA mount, replace Plague Bearer. I also had to turn off Ghost Dance. Again, because I have enough spirit in SSF. But Plague Bearer, wrong order, doesn't matter. Early on, you want to max skills on it. It means Physical Mastery, Chaos Mastery. Because it scales insanely much with damage up to level 20. After level 20, it goes from scaling enormously per level to a few hundred per level. So at the 5 link, it's better to get Unbreakable in to make it more consistent than to have the last plus skill. But magnified effect for area, astral projection, so it becomes a range skill, so you can shoot poison arrows and blast at ranges. Incredible combo. Here are some other optional auras, and here's one that actually works. I just don't have spirit for it. This is the only consistent Wither stacking that really works that I have found. And even if you don't have spirit for it, you can have it only active on your weapon swap. Just set it on number 2, because you can use a scepter that has a lot of spirit. So in your second swap, you can easily have blink if you want instead of shield charge. You can easily have expensive auras like Withering Presence. And if you have Withering Presence, when you shield charge into mobs, not only will you get 1 stack always from this weapon skill, swap skill I've set here, Wither Away, because you will always add 1 stack, which is better than nothing, but with this aura you will also sometimes add another stack. So stacks is better than none. And here's just a freebie to throw in if you have spirit or night. So I also tried Contagion a bit. If I leveled again, I would probably use this for leveling. But at the end game, I felt that at incredible density, it can be good. Can stay alive for an entire ritual, for example, if you put it in the back. It just keeps spreading, and it does improve the damage by quite a bit. But it's also not needed, and it takes a slot. But if I had an unset ring, so I had an extra skill slot, I might very well keep it permanently. I just use simple stuff. Profanity, Brain Ailment. Here's a gem worthy of mention, because many AoE skills can just throw this in when you want AoE. It's new, I think. I haven't seen it at least. Simply gives you more area of effect, and many area of effect skills don't need accuracy. And then you lose the accuracy, which doesn't matter. So, very good thing to throw in at whatever you want. While leveling, I used Gas Arrow. Gas Arrow is now so nerfed as a poison skill that it is completely useless in any situation I found compared to Poisonburst. But for leveling and for clear, I used it until level 80 with Corrosion and Armor Explosion, which makes all the enemies explode. And this is the explosion is 100% attack damage. And if there are 5 mobs, then it's like a free 500 AoE crisscross between all of them, so everything just dies. And it just started fading out a bit around 80. That like, I don't need to cast this anymore. I can just shoot one poison burst and have a Plague Nova and keep spamming those, and yeah. Eye of Winter, put it here to mention, does not work anymore, at least in any way I could find. Maybe if you put some really juicy spell supports and chaos damage, double mings, maybe with double mings and anointing your chaos, which is one of the best anoints, maybe, but in any configuration I've tried, simply does not work. And last of the extra gems, Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows can proc Withering Touch, Ming's Heart, and Chaos Infusion. The question is it worth casting? Because it's one of those one stack here and there. So I mention it because with amazing endgame gear, maybe it will stack enough to be worth trouble. So those are the skills out of the way. So let's have a look at the gear. Go for the highest physical damage bow. Priority 1 is absolutely the highest physical damage. Priority 2 is to have high crit chance, and because the base crit is determined by the crit chance on the bow. It's very nice to have additional arrows, so if you have a much better bow, you can use a non-Gemini bow. But it is a high priority to have an additional arrows. You don't need many arrows because you don't shotgun bosses or anything. You don't multi-hit from having more arrows. But it is amazing on AoE. But having one additional arrow feels just fine. Having more would be perfect, but still it's not the highest priority. I would say it's the third priority after physical damage and crit. Then I would pick additional arrows. And last of all, attack speed and skills. Quiver, pretty much same thing. Physical damage, damage with bow skills. Could have arrow speed if you pick Feathered Fletching, which is here. It's no problem since I'm just 2 points away from it. It's a very big upgrade. So if you have a quiver with arrow speed, you should free up points and take this. And again, in SSF, I can't have it, but in trade, I would probably buy a quiver with everything. So physical damage, damage with bow skills, arrow speed if you spec Feathered Fletching, then crit damage, and attack speed or projectiles. There are many other nice things, but that would be the perfect. So for the armor setup, you will want the highest possible energy shield of the helm, and that synergizes with Subterfuge Mask, so this gives most of the evasion. Actually have some respectable evasion, as you can see, 58% with early-ish endgame gear here, which is plenty with the high energy shield. And with this build, you can choose to have a lot more energy shield if you want. I have kind of gone highest damage here, but you have plenty of nodes to fill out. There are minor points here. There are nodes here. You can take the last node here for 15%. There are even some 10% here if you really want to go all in on it, but it is overkill. This is still probably 50% more life than a life build would have. And while leveling, don't transition too early. Keep just using an evasion chest unless you find an amazing energy shield chest early, and pick spectral ward. That will give you a solid extra energy shield. So before I swapped to chaos inoculation, I still had over 3000 HP and energy shield combined due to having a high evasion armor and subterfuge mask. So full energy shield, fill out your resist, crit chance is good. Full energy shield, whatever resist stats you can get. Flatfuse, energy shield or evasion. On the other parts, these have to be full energy shield. There is no alternative. But on the boots and gloves, just pick the best you have. It's good to have some evasion on these. Mine are not very good. Again, Solar Cell Found is very, very hard to gear up in. But defenses, physical damage, resist stats, really nice to fit mana on kill on gloves or ring. And just makes clearing so much smoother. And yeah, same on the boots. Defense stats, movement speed, max priority, resist stats. Belt, again, same thing. Really nothing special apart from resists to get here. Ideal would still probably be ingenuity, but very hard to fit. For rings, with chaos inoculation, you take no life penalty and you can have 2 of these. This is straight up 40% multiplied damage. If you can have 2 of them, that's amazing. Very hard to fit the resists. So I have 1. I've been lucky to divine it to 40%. And 1 ring. And the other ring should simply be physical damage. Evasion, if you can get. It's a very nice bonus here, since we have very limited slots for evasion. So physical damage, evasion, high priority, whatever else is okay for prefix. Fill out, again, resists and. Amulet, you want energy shield percent, crit damage, projectile skills, maybe some resist if you have to fill it out. I can also, with the gear done, recommend some anoints. This one is called Back in Action, and it is the best anoint for, I think, every class to pick early on. It is down here. It costs nothing, just the lowest levels of instill materials, and it gives you 80% stun recovery. That changes everything early on. When you get chain stunned and die, instead of getting chain stunned and die, you get one little quick stun and you can roll out of it. It's very, very good and costs. Then for anoints endgame, the best are pure chaos, probably, for damage. And it also helps with all those shenanigans of making Eye of Winter, if it can work at all, do chaos damage. And here is the probably best overall option. It's reasonably cheap. I'm almost to the level of affording it. 60% energy shield from body armor. So that's the gear done. Go through the skill tree. Start off with the ascendancy. Always want double the amount of poisons for damage, since it's straight up double damage on bosses and so on. This is a bonus that you don't have to have Herald of Plague. The GIMP version of Herald of Plague. I wish it was same or better, but no, it has to be GIMPed. Skill points, always good. And this is better than it seems, both for the ROA and when playing on the ground. Because if you're on the ROA, you are almost immortal unless you get blocked in. Because you can just run around, you cannot be slowed, you just run around and shoot. Everything is fine and dandy. But on the ground, it seems to also affect the little slow you get from shooting and dodge rolling. So when you dodge roll to animation cancel a bow shot, you have noticed you do a much slower dodge roll. But with this talent, it is fast. So you still do the proper dodge roll, which is very... there are plenty of options. Go concoction. Obviously you have to drop speed or skills. You can also drop both if you want to be really defensive. And take immunity to whatever worst for you. Probably not freeze, because I spec extra threshold here. So more or less immune to freeze already. And probably just shock to not take damage. And this is very strong if evasion. But not gonna have enough evasion to make this matter with this build. But it is a solid option if you go full evasion, Queen of the Forest. I'll just go through the important things here. You use this for leveling. Don't pick crit early on. Go for the poison nodes, the generic attack nodes, and take as much defense as you want. I leveled with no defense whatsoever. I just went poison and then crit. And when I hit endgame and the exp started to matter, I started filling out the defense and so on. While you are evasion early on while leveling, you can always pick this and just prioritize having an incredibly strong body armor. So, poison nodes, subterfuge mask, which gives evasion from the helmet, very important. Once you have a good energy shield helmet, it also makes getting a helmet very high priority. Overpowered combo evasion nodes everywhere. Going into the monk starter area for crit, high damage, or crit, generic nice stuff, stats, overpowered nodes all around, and high stat budget. Moving on, here's a nice crit cluster. This is on the weapon swap. Once you have your curse, nothing you need to worry about for leveling. And make sure you set curse to only use weapon swap 2. So you always get buff from all these. Moving on, only pick Eternal Youth once you have Chaos Inoculation. This makes it so your flask simply becomes a life flask for energy shield instead. More poison nodes. Crit nodes. Sniper doesn't show up in POB for damage, but this is the only node almost I swap to when going from concoction to bow. And again, you can take the rest of these this way if you want to put more into it. If you have a quiver with projectile speed, then this is a very, very strong node. And this is optional if you are here anyway. I mean, it's just 3 points, but not needed. This is a very important node. When you go CI, you get 1 life. And your life is still your threshold for stun and freeze and so on. So you either have to have freeze immunity, or which you can pick here. But if you do, you still get chilled, because you're not immune to chill, you're just immune to freeze. I tried this, seemed good, but it was very gimpy. This is pretty much the only option. Other option is if you go here and take these nodes, then you're going to be close to these nodes. And then you can get stun threshold based on energy shield. This also exists jewels. So the best option is to hit it on jewels. Don't spec these. Do pick these since you're pathing past it anyway. you get a very high threshold. You pretty much can't get frozen unless it's some extremely strong attack, and have a stun charm versus. Nothing special here, more crit, more weapon swap for curse, weapon swap for withered, and finishing off with 60% energy shield, some int that's needed to fill out int index, it's quite stat intensive, and some last curse weapon swap. And as you see, I put all of the crit nodes on the weapon swap, because they are never needed on the shield shard swap, while all the poison nodes might be needed for spreading poisons. I assume, I'm not 100%. It seems like the best setup. Anyway, and go through jewels. Again, it's SSF, so I don't have perfect stuff, but additional stun threshold for energy shield. You have that, crit damage, magnitude of damaging ailments with crits on every gem. That will probably be ideal. This is close to perfect. Should just replace the minion damage. See what more we have. Quiver bonuses could still be good if you have amazing gear. It is not even worth speccing. As you see, I have not picked it now. With the gear level I have, again, it might change at perfect gear. So heavily nerfed, and this is the max roll, 6%. Maybe there is a higher tier, I have not seen it. But crit chance is the only thing good here. It's random SSF stuff. Movement speed, always good. Crit chance good. Damage with bows is okay. But the best jewels seem to be sapphires. Again, crit damage, magnitude of ailment, stun threshold. So this is another almost perfect jewel. I would just slap those into every slot. Yeah. So there we go. I hope I covered all the bases. And if you have any questions, you can just ask in the comments or on my stream. And I hope this is useful. Thank you for watching, and see you later.